let me ask you about this, what I consider reporting you did. I don't know if you consider it journalism. I definitely consider it journalism, and it's, I'm a big fan of independent journalism, and to me what you did is a classic, vibrant case of why it's so important. So just to quickly set it up, and I'll let you tell the story, but there is a Green Beret who was working with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which is the organization that Israel and the United States created to keep the UN and all of their groups out to deliver food. It's been an utter disaster on every level, responsible for not just famine, but people being massacred when they line up to get food, starving people over and over and over, including into this week. And he basically came out and denounced the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation in a lot of very compelling ways, made a big media round. And of course, as always happens to anybody who effectively criticized Israel, he became the subject of an immediate smear campaign, much of which was false. And the main attack on him was false and proven so by the work that you did. So can you just tell the story of like how that happened, how that caught your attention, and why you decided to go do the work you did to debunk this?
Yeah, sure. So like I said, I was married to a Green Beret. So when I hear people kind of talk about, my dad was in the military. I was younger when he retired, but still, I've just kind of been around the military my entire life. I know how the American military is, and I'm not saying it's perfect by any means. Of course, I'm vehemently against like the Iraq War, a lot of American foreign policy and whatnot. But our soldiers just, something that's irked me for years is when people say, the IDF is the most moral army, right? When American politicians in particular say that, because I think, number one, it's such a slap in the face to the American military. It's just gross. But also, when I personally know, I've heard the stories for years from soldiers and whatnot. Our soldiers don't do these things. Our soldiers don't dress up in lingerie when they go into, when they're doing like house sweeps, right? They don't smash little kids' toys and record themselves and, post these things or even take pictures or souvenirs of these things. That just doesn't happen. And if it did happen, there would be serious consequences for it. We have actual systems set up in place. We have throughout the war on terror, we have tried soldiers for crimes that, like premeditated murder, setting things up, even theft, of personal property when they were on raids and whatnot. I know of actual prosecutions that happened because of that. So when I hear that, it enrages me. But what I encountered with this thing. So when Tony Aguilar first came out, number one, I didn't need to hear his story. I already believed the Palestinians because they've been telling us that these things have been happening for, at this point, it's been 2 months. So I believed him because I already believe Palestinians because they've already shown, they're the ones posting the videos every day, right? But what I came across this account that was really trashing him. So I called my ex-husband. I asked him, do you know this guy? And he knew of him, didn't really know. He had heard the name.
Even if Tony
knew who he was. Yeah.
Or the person attacking him.
No, he doesn't. That's like an anon account. And
right.
Apparently they're supposed to be Green Berets. But no, but he knew the name. But he, and I asked him if he knew anything about him. He's like, no. Asked him if he had heard any of this stuff. He's like, no, definitely not. So I knew that, he would know if this guy was like super bad, right? Then what happens is that
okay, before you get to the attacks on him, can you just summarize like what his whistleblowing was about? Like in general, you said, you didn't need to hear his story, but what was his story, in general?
So he's part of the GHF, which is Gaza Humanitarian Fund, and they have set up now 4 distribution sites in Gaza, right? So what these are they're to distribute food, not water. We learned from him later, but they are these 4 sites that they're the only distribution, or it's the only. I'm so sorry, my dog.
Trust me, we understand.
Of course. I have no idea where everybody else is at to get them.
We don't mind dog interruptions. We like them. Go ahead.
Yeah. So they had these 4 sites set up, And the way that the system is set up right now, because they only have the 4, is that they announce when they're going to open on their Instagram, WhatsApp, and, or excuse me, not Instagram, but Telegram, WhatsApp, and Facebook pages, the GHF, right? So Palestinians have, they're not allowed to hang out around the distribution centers. They have to go home. They have to disperse. And then so what you have is you have people walking every day, sometimes miles, to come to these distribution centers. And then it's announced online when it's going to open. Right. And then they're open anywhere from like 6 to 15 minutes with an average opening of 11 minutes. And it's like a free for all. People just run in and they grab whatever they can. Right. And then so it's technically it's set up to draw Hamas out, right? So it's set up as like the survival of the fittest kind of thing, where you, because you have to be strong and fast, essentially, to get the most supplies, right? So that's the idea behind it. They're running facial recognition the whole time, and this is why the UN wouldn't participate in any of these distribution centers, because they said they were being used as bait, and it goes against humanitarian law. It's antithetical. It's unethical. Everything about it is just wrong. So this is why the UN won't participate, and this is actually why the initial company, I believe, that was contracted by the Gaza Humanitarian Fund, they backed out at the last minute. They just said that this was not neutral, it was unethical, and they could not abide to humanitarian law by participating in this setup. Regardless, new company comes in. It's this UG Solutions, US Solutions. I believe it's UG Solutions.
It's a contractor. It's like a private corporation. It's not part of the government.
Right. Right. So they're willing to do it, and this is what they set up, and this is what Tony Aguilar becomes a contractor for. From what I've read online, it's pretty good pay. It's about a $10,000 sign-on bonus, and then it's $1,500 a day. And so they get these guys, these kind of like retired, special forces, retired military types that go over there, and they are like the armed guards, essentially, right? So they're helping to set this up. But yet again, it's just free for all, where people are just running in, and it's only open for a very, very limited amount of time. So what happened with Aguilar is he's there. Number one, he's very disturbed by the setup, right? And then I believe it was the second day, because it opened on May 28th. I believe it was the 29th, he said. He had, I'm sorry, let me go back real quick. When the site closes, the IDF is using live fire to disperse the crowds, right? And this is how we are ending with people getting shot and killed every day from these distribution centers. And it's anywhere from 50 to 100 people every single day. I mean, I think I've seen as high as 149 people on one day. It's really, it's just, it violates every law of conscientiousness, of humanitarian law. It's international law, but we won't even go there. Tony Aguilar witnesses this one day. I believe it's the May 29th, second day it's open. He sees this little boy walking, right? Because this little boy is late to the free-for-all, and there's nothing left, right? Because of course it's set up for men, the strongest, the fittest, and he's only able to grab, I guess, like a handful of rice and lentils or something like that, or it's a torn bag of rice. And he walks up to Aguilar, and he is really grateful, and he walks up to Aguilar, and he gives him like a hug and tells him thank you in English. And this little boy, who is clearly malnourished, dehydrated, and it really bothers him, right? That he's taken aback. And then the boy walks away. I don't know if it was that day or if it was the next day, but there's some kind of disbursement fire. And anyways, this little boy who's like 5 years old gets shot. And that really impacted Aguilar, and he becomes very bothered by it, and he starts voicing problems with this setup. He doesn't like it. He knows, number one, that they are in violation of international law. They these are war crimes that are being committed. He is a witness to a war crime, and I guess more importantly for him on a personal level is the fact that he is in Gaza on a tourist visa. He has no diplomatic immunity to what he's witnessing, right? So these men, as of right now, these Americans over there, they don't actually have any international protection, right, from prosecution. So he becomes concerned, he starts voicing dissent, and GHS doesn't like that very much, right? So what happens is they end up firing him, I guess. He has some back and forth with them. He comes home. I believe, I haven't watched all of the Tucker Carlson interview, but I believe that at some point he conversed with his wife, and she said, you need to go forward. You need to tell people what happened. And that's when he decided to blow the whistle. And I believe his first interview was with BBC.
Right. And so that obviously makes a big impact. This is not, I mean, as you say, it shouldn't have taken that. For a lot of people it did, though, because the Gazans themselves have been documenting this. And, of course, Israel has blocked any international media from entering Gaza. So they are purposely hiding what they're doing, and we rely on Gazans, not just to say what's happened, but to document it. But in this case, here you have a former Green Beret who is very credible in how he tells the story. He's clearly emotionally affected, as anybody minimally decent would be.
Yeah.
And he makes a big impact, and for that reason, he has to have his reputation destroyed. So one day there emerges online this tweet that, of course, went viral because all the Israel supporters madly spread it, basically saying that he is somebody who is a wife beater, that he had actually been prosecuted and convicted for beating his wife. And I saw this tweet, everywhere. I mean, and I just assumed, because there was attached to it was a purported legal document, which purported to be the criminal case where he ended up either pleading guilty or being convicted of beating his wife. And you took that and began investigating it because it didn't seem right to you. And what led you to go investigate that, and what is it that you found ultimately?
So I used to work as a paralegal in North Carolina, so I know the North Carolina law very well. And first off, and I'm pretty sure it's actually all 50 states that this is, but if you are convicted of assault on a female, you cannot own a gun, right? And you can't get a top secret security clearance, right? From that, you are screwed if your job is you have to hold a gun, essentially. So the idea that this lieutenant colonel had been convicted of assault on a female and then gotten a job as a contractor, that just wouldn't happen. It just would not. He would never pass. They would never hire him, right? And I know that I highly doubt even just to work in Gaza, like in another country, I don't believe that an American company would have hired him to begin with. So I knew that the conviction, the allegation that, he had been convicted, I knew that was BS to begin with. Then I am a little familiar with, because I'm in Cumberland County, but I grew up in Harnett County, which is where this is
North Carolina?
Right, this is all North Carolina. And so I'm just really familiar with the area and whatnot, but I grew up in Harnett County. So, and again, the law office that I worked at worked multiple counties around us. I know what certain things look like, right? So when I see this arrest warrant for Harnett County, and that's what it was, that is what was being posted online, a few things stuck out to me. Number one, the zip code. Is a Fort Bragg zip code, and I know that right off the bat because I used to have a marketing job, and I oddly know all of the zip codes around this town. And so, but the address said Sanford, which is about 40 miles north, so that was wrong. Then I look at the docket number, and it's missing. There's last three identifying numbers. That was wrong. I knew that right off the bat. And so I look up the address. Address doesn't exist. So I'm like, okay, there's something weird here. I call up my podcast co-host, Janine. I ask her, she's like, well, let's look up the docket number and see if we can find anything. We look it up and nothing. It just
because
comes
she's a
up
lawyer,
blank.
so she has access to those databases and knows how to research them.
Right. And so I said, you know what? I'm just going to go down to the courthouse and see what they have. Because if there's anything, because I don't want to tweet out this is fake unless I know like 100%. Right. So I go down to the courthouse and I on their system, and I don't find anything on this. I start chatting with the clerk. She was like super sweet. I showed her the picture of the mugshot, and she says, "Oh, I think that's fake." She said, "Because they don't put the date of birth on there." She said they only put age. So we pull up the Harnett County Sheriff's arrest warrant, and sure enough, it's a very, very similar format, but there are little things that are just off, right? And one of them specifically is it does not say date of birth; it says age. And of course, the other thing is the docket number and whatnot. So I start digging some more, and I come across his divorce filings, right? Well, separation filings. And specifically, there was a child custody battle and whatnot. So I start reading through this, and what I find is that there actually was a domestic incident that lines up with the date that's on this arrest warrant. And people have, couples have problems sometimes, and things happen, and something happened here. There was clearly an issue and whatnot, but what actually happened is that the wife ended up writing a 3-page affidavit, kind of acknowledging, not kind of, she fully acknowledged that there was an incident involving alcohol it was her fault, essentially. What happened, I guess she fell. I got the feeling maybe she fell down some stairs or whatnot. And her face was banged up. And then the next day she goes to work. They tell her, no, you have to go to the hospital. She gets to the hospital calls the sheriff. She tries to explain to the sheriff what happens, that she had been drinking. They had gotten into a fight. She fell. Of course, sheriff doesn't believe her, which I understand. But she's adamant about this, that no, my husband has never touched me. My husband has never hit me. He is not abusive to me at all. And, and they have some problems. And there's other things in the file that really confirm and back all of this up. It made me very confident in this letter, right, in this affidavit, to the point where I was like, you know what, I called Janine. I'm telling her I'm having this kind of dilemma about, because I don't want to put these people's personal lives out there, right? But at the same time, his credibility is very important, and they're smearing this man. And after reading the file, I'm convinced he actually is innocent. He did not do anything.
And it was a fake document, right?
And
there was no arrest warrant.
I have not seen anything that, I know that this incident happened, right? But the thing with North Carolina is if like she had just decided she wasn't going to cooperate with prosecution, it would have just been dismissed by the judge. There would still be a record somewhere, right, of it. And yeah, whatever is online, that is not real. That is not what was put up with Harnett County. People are like, no, he definitely got arrested. I'm like, well, somehow it got erased from existence. So now I actually do think it was fake. It's this weird thing, but I know 100% that he was not charged at all with this crime. And so anyone so what I actually think happened is that someone knew that there was an incident between the two. And I do think that they made this fake kind of arrest warrant.
And it viralized
right?
everywhere.
No
every Israel supporter was like, retweet.
He's a wife beater. It was so nasty that I was like, I have to go out there with this, that this didn't happen like this, number one. And I actually think that someone with information did, take it. And I do think that they made this document. Again, I can't find it online, right? I can't find any record of it. I have looked through the Harnett County's, they print a daily or a monthly report of all their felony and A1 arrests. It is not in that December 2020 that arrest, which should have been, because assault on a female is an A1 misdemeanor. It should have been in that report. It's not in there. So it's like scrubbed from existence if that happened, which makes me think, no, he actually wasn't arrested. Right?
Well, and also, so you with all this information that you just recounted, all the documents that you found, you went and reported online what you had discovered, that this was basically a lie and a fabricated document.
Oh, it was definitely a lie. It was definitely an exaggeration. And what I think is, someone knew that there had been an incident.
Right, but created like a fake arrest warrant from it.
And then just created this whole fake thing. And you have this account, this anonymous Green Beret, Green Beret NAP account, NAP something. I don't even understand what it is. This guy's really stupid. I know he has had multiple meltdowns in my mentions.
Well, no, but this was the point. That viralized this fake document. You then posted your proof that this was fake, and your reporting also viralized. Like, everybody was retweeting it as well because of how widespread this fake accusation was and this document was. And he then came in your replies to try and argue with you, and you destroyed him. He had no idea what he was talking about. Nothing he was saying made sense. But what I'm saying is, had there been proof, like had there really been an arrest warrant to back this up, this would all be out there by now, because it became very important to Israel supporters. And I do think, I mean, first of all, as you say, I mean, people who beat their wives definitely are guilty of something very immoral. We should use that to judge their character.
Right.
But it doesn't actually inform one way or the other about the credibility of his claims. But that's always the idea. You know, they do that with Daniel Ellsberg. Like, he had the Pentagon Papers showing the U.S. government had lied for, a decade about the Vietnam War, and they tried to break into his psychoanalyst office to find, private life dirt on him, knowing that it would distract attention, it would make him look bad, people would want to look at the findings. That's what always they do. And it just is amazing how vicious and dirty they are, that you criticize Israel in an effective way. And obviously a Green Beret who went there and is telling a firsthand story that's very emotionally affecting is a real danger to their whole narrative. And within like days, they have this fake document that they're circulating everywhere, accusing him of having been convicted of wife beating. And it's really amazing how much you put yourself in jeopardy if you criticize Israel in a meaningful way.
Right. It's concerning, because who wants to put themselves through that? Who wants to put their family through that, right? Who wants to put their children, their wife, anything like that? And the thing about Tony Aguilar is he's extremely convincing. Like I said, I didn't need his testimony because, I'm very invested. I follow this stuff every day. But to your normie who doesn't follow any of it, he's very convincing, right? He has this kind of aura about him, in that he's very confident in the way he speaks, and you don't feel like he's trying to manipulate you when you hear him talk, right? He's just telling it like it is, and he's this kind of no nonsense soldier, right? And so I definitely can see why he's such a threat to them. And so it just bothered me that the way that they were, it definitely bothered me, this kind of really personal attack. Then when I start digging into all of this stuff, and then I see it just was so scummy, right? This, and we have to defend these people. We have to make it so that people can come out and blow the whistle and say what's wrong. So yeah, I was like, well, I'm just going to do it. And thankfully it did go viral. It got a lot of views. It got a lot of big accounts tweeting it and whatnot. And I got so, interestingly enough, I actually had about, I'd say maybe like 15 or 20, people saying that they're Green Berets and sending in saying, thank you for doing this, or sending me DMs saying, thank you for doing this. And I knew this guy was this anonymous account. I knew he was full of crap, but this is, really important that you did that. And thank you. And, even two people said that they had actually known Tony. They didn't understand why these attacks were coming on him. Both of them said they didn't know him that well, but they're like, he always kind of just seemed kind of straight-laced to us. So So I was grateful once, especially with those kind of private messages and whatnot, people, but it makes it so I still worry that it'll make it so that people don't want to speak out still, right? Because who wants to put themselves through that?
Well, and you see what's happening, Tucker Carlson 3 years ago was unanimously admired by the entire conservative movement, and now half the people spend every day accusing him of being a Qatari agent and an anti-Semite. And so, they've relied for so long on making examples of people who criticize Israel, and they've done a very effective job of it. They're thugs and bullies, and they use the dirtiest techniques imaginable, but it's kind of spiraled out of the control, as we talked about before. There's just too many people seeing the light of day. The more stuff like this is done, conditioning disaster preparedness funds from the U.S. government on promising not to support or boycott Israel, the more censorship for Israel, the more people are going to be waking up, and it's going to really cause a backlash. You already see it. I think it's going to get a lot worse. Thanks for watching this clip from System Update, our live show that airs every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on Rumble. You can catch the full nightly shows live or view the backlog of episodes for free on our Rumble page. You can also find full episodes the morning after they air across all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Apple. All the information you need is linked below. We hope to see you there.